An-Nawas bin Salman reported that Allah's messenger made a mention of the Dajjal one day in the morning. He sometimes described him to be insignificant and sometimes described his turmoil as very significant, and we felt as if he were in the cluster of the date palm trees. When we went to him, to the Holy Prophet, in the evening and he read the signs of fear in our faces, he said, "What is the matter with you?" We said, "Allah's messenger, you made a mention of the Dajjal in the morning, sometimes describing him to be insignificant and sometimes very important, until we began to think as if he were present in some near part of the cluster of the date palm trees." Thereupon he said, "I harbor fear in regard to you in so many other things besides the Dajjal. If he comes forth while I am among you, I shall contend with him on your behalf, but if he comes forth while I am not amongst you, a man must contend on his own behalf, and Allah would take care of every Muslim on my behalf, and safeguard him against his evil. He, Dajjal, would be a young man with twisted, contracted hair, and a blind eye. I compare him to Abdul-Uzza bin Katan. He who amongst you would survive to see him should recite over him the opening verses of Surah Kahf, 18. He would appear on the way between Syria and Iraq and would spread mischief right and left. O servant of Allah, adhere to the path of truth." We said, "Allah's messenger, how long would he stay on the earth?" He said, "For 40 days, one day like a year and one day like a month and one day like a week, and the rest of the days would be like your days." We said, "Allah's messenger, would one day's prayer suffice for the prayers of day equal to 1 year?" Thereupon he said, "No, but you must make an estimate of time, and then observe prayer." We said, "Allah's messenger, how quickly would he walk upon the earth?" Thereupon he said, "Like cloud driven by the wind." He would come to the people and invite them to a wrong religion, and they would affirm their faith in him and respond to him. He would then give command to the sky and there would be rainfall upon the earth and it would grow crops. Then in the evening, their posturing animals would come to them with their humps very high and their udders full of milk and their flanks stretched. He would then come to another people and invite them, but they would reject him and he would go away from them and there would be drought for them and nothing would be left with them in the form of wealth. He would then walk through the wasteland and say to it, "Bring forth your treasures," and the treasures would come out and collect themselves before him like the swarm of bees. He would then call a person brimming with youth and strike him with the sword and cut him into 2 pieces and make these pieces lie at a distance which is generally between the archer and his target. He would then call that young man, and he will come forward laughing with his face gleaming with happiness, and it would at this very time that Allah would send Christ, son of Mary, and he will descend at the white minaret in the eastern side of Damascus wearing 2 garments lightly dyed with saffron and placing his hands on the wings of 2 angels. When he would lower his head, there would fall beads of perspiration from his head, and when he would raise it up, beads like pearls would scatter from it. Every non-believer who would smell the odor of his self would die and his breath would reach as far as he would be able to see. He would then search for him, Dajjal, until he would catch hold of him at the gate of Lud and would kill him. Then a people whom Allah had protected would come to Jesus, son of Mary, and he would wipe their faces and would inform them of their ranks in paradise, and it would be under such conditions that Allah would reveal to Jesus these words, "I have brought forth from amongst my servants such people against whom none would be able to fight. You take these people safely to Tur," and then Allah would send Gog and Magog and they would swarm down from every slope. The first of them would pass the lake of Tibering and drink out of it, and when the last of them would pass, he would say, "There was once water there." Jesus and his companions would then be besieged here, at Tur, and they would be so much hard pressed, that the head of the ox would be dearer to them than 100 dinars, and Allah's apostle, Jesus, and his companions would supplicate Allah, who would send to them insects, which would attack their necks, and in the morning they would perish like one single person. Allah's apostle, Jesus, and his companions would then come down to the earth and they would not find in the earth as much space as a single span which is not filled with their putrefaction and stench. Allah's apostle, Jesus, and his companions would then again beseech Allah, who would send birds whose necks would be like those of Bactrian camels and they would carry them and throw them where God would will. Then Allah would send rain which no house of clay or the tent of camel's hairs would keep out, and it would wash away the earth until it could appear to be a mirror. Then the earth would be told to bring forth its fruit and restore its blessing, and, as a result thereof, there would grow such a big pomegranate that a group of persons would be able to eat that, and seek shelter under its skin, and milch cow would give so much milk that a whole party would be able to drink it. And the milch camel would give such a large quantity of milk that the whole tribe would be able to drink out of that, and the milch sheep would give so much milk that the whole family would be able to drink out of that, and at that time Allah would send a pleasant wind which would soothe people, even under their armpits, and would take the life of every Muslim, and only the wicked would survive who would commit adultery like asses, and the last hour would come to them. Sahih Muslim Hadith number 7373.